The Auburn Tigers dominate Nebraska. They win the series.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Baseball's Lindsay Crosby. You can find his baseball coverage over at thebarnauburn.com for college baseball. He covers all of it. More on that in a bit. Auburn blasts Nebraska 12-3 after run ruling them in game 2 yesterday. There was a lot of panic, Lindsay. Friday night, we said, hold on.
Yep.
And, they lose in extras on Friday, but they dominate every single inning essentially after that. And you could tell, like, pitching depth mattered. The bats showed up and were relentless. This was a series that Auburn controlled it throughout with the exception of maybe an inning or two on Friday.
Yeah, and I talked to a lot of the guys yesterday, kind of, after the game, getting their thought process on what happened on Friday. And the players were really frustrated on Friday because they knew that, like, hey, we had a lead. The bullpen gave it up, and sometimes that happens. And the offense needed to be better than they were to, one, continue scoring runs and keep the team into it, and then two, have the at-bats they need to have late.
Lindsay, I'm sorry. Breaking news here. Nebraska just walked another Auburn batter.
That's what they've been doing. And that's, I asked Butch a similar question about that too, right? I asked him about, they used, I think it was 7 pitchers in game 1. They used 6 pitchers in game 2, despite only 7 innings. Like, that was not a scheduled bullpen game.
Right.
We just knocked their starter out so early. And then you look at today, Nebraska used 8 more guys today. And this is what the Auburn offense does, right? Like, this is what these guys are trying to do. Yes, they're trying to put balls in play. They're trying to cause damage, crooked numbers on the board, get the kill shots and all that stuff. But they're also trying to get your starter out of the game as soon as possible.
Right.
Because, and this is a strategy that is replicable in the SEC. I remember the year where Paul Skeens was at LSU and was drafted number 1 overall. And if I remember right, he started a Friday night game against Auburn, and Auburn won that game. Now, they didn't do anything against Paul Skeens. He went 7 1/3 innings with no runs on 6 hits, but Auburn got him out of the game. And, and the Tigers ended up, like, taking down some really good teams on the weekend with that strategy. Yeah, sure, maybe their Friday night guy, Auburn's Friday night guy, wasn't to the same caliber of a Paul Skeens, who was a number 1 overall pick and some of that stuff. But they could get them out of the game. They could get into the bullpen, get innings on, and then games 2 and 3, you'd have some run rule victories. You'd have a game like Sunday where Nebraska drew 4 walks offensively, issued 12 walks as a pitching staff.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And
absolutely insane.
That's the strategy here. And we saw it work out. So, shout out to Randall from Friday night from the live show, kind of being panicked about Auburn losing at home. They came back. They won the next 2 in dominant fashion.
Yeah, they definitely did. And different guys stepped up, right? I mean, we talked about this, or really you talked about it when we reacted to it on Friday night about the McCrane brothers. And then that was kind of like the TV broadcast talking point. Following that was how great they've been. And you've been talking about it really since the season started. And you saw that really you saw it Friday too, but you saw it really all weekend. And you're seeing different parts of this lineup now start to get comfortable. It's not just Bristol Carter. It's not just Freilich. It's not just Bub Terrell. You're starting to see the full lineup, which is what we thought would happen. It didn't happen from game 1, but they are starting to get comfortable now.
Yeah. Mason McCrane drove in 6 on Saturday, which
is that good, Lindsay?
It's a pretty good weekend in conference, like in baseball, never mind a single game.
Right.
He had another RBI today, by the way, too. So, I mean, he's driven in like 8 guys this weekend. But we saw, one, you got Chris Rembert back. And even though you had to find another lineup spot, you didn't really get weaker anywhere because you have these guys. Not only did they step up, they can play multiple positions, right? Brandon McCrane moved from second to third because Chris Rembert was back for game 2. Butch originally told us he didn't think they were going to do all 3 games for Chris. Chris felt really good. They put him out there. He appeared to be, he's not 100%, but he appeared to be moving okay.
He looks pretty good. I mean, especially today. I thought he looked even more crisp today than he did on Friday.
He did go first to third today on a batted ball, which was the first time we've really seen him open it up. Like he's hit ground balls and had to get to first base, but for the most part, he was actually able to, open it up, go first to third, and look good there. But not 100%, but he's pretty close. But yeah, you put Brandon McCrane at third. Lucas Steele always catches for Alex Petrovic, who got the win today. He's 3-0, by the way. And so you put Chase Fralick at first. That let you take Ethan Bingaman and give him his pitching debut on the mound in the final inning. I mean, the depth on this team is very enviable. And so far, Auburn is winning the bet that we can sacrifice a little bit of defense to get more offense in the lineup on an everyday basis. They're winning that bet so far.
Brandon McCrane, just pointing out, batting .533 on the season.
Feels like that's good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
And it's funny, 533 in the season, but 30 at bats. It's not like he's played in 2 or 3 games, right?
Right.
30 at bats. He has 16 hits. 5 RBI. Also, want to point this out too. He's drawn 9 walks.
There you go.
So he's getting on base a ton. He's had, I think, 40 plate appearances now, and he's been on base 25 times. He's also batting .400 with runners in scoring position. But that's one of the things here that I do want to shout out some of these guys on, because it's small. It's very small sample size stuff. But a lot of Auburn's batters are doing their job with runners in scoring position. Eric Guevara is batting .643. Mason McCrane is batting .857 with runners in scoring position. He's practically
genetic at this point.
Automatic.
It must be genetic.
It is genetic. I told everybody a couple weeks ago, hey, when we previewed the season, I said, hey, you don't always get 3 amazing freshmen in the everyday lineup like you did last year, where Chase Fralick and Bub Terrell and Chris Rembert were your 2, 3, and 4 hitters, right?
Yeah.
And I said, so don't automatically expect that this year. Took a little bit longer to get the 3, but Mason McCrane, Brandon McCrane, Ethan Bingaman look like they might be 3 freshmen that play more games than they sit this year. Bingaman wasn't in the lineup today. There just wasn't really a way to get him in there.
Right.
But outside of that, I mean, they look like 3 guys you got to get in the lineup almost every day.
Yep. No question about it. No question about it. All right. So what does this series mean? Big picture, what's coming up for Auburn? We take a stab at that next right here on this reaction edition of Locked On Auburn. They win the series against Nebraska, and they win today's battle 12-3. Let's go. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. College basketball nonstop right now with big games and tight spreads, momentum swings every night from early tip-offs to late West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Were you about to say something, Lindsay Crosby?
I was going to say the Auburn Tigers in baseball are expected to be a College World Series team, according to FanDuel's odds right now.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's leave that right there. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Indeed. We talk about fit a lot in sports. It's not just about how good you are. It's about figuring out where to put certain guys. You're seeing Butch Thompson do that in real time, right? It's not just getting the best guys. It's figuring out, where are they in the lineup? Where are they in the order? Where are they in the field? And Indeed understands that. You tell them what you need. They're able to kind of use their algorithm and say, hey, these folks applied and they fit and they have the strength for what you're looking for. So head to Indeed.com/podcast right now. You can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves. That is Indeed.com/podcast. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long, or use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter most. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Auburn blast Nebraska 12-3, Lindsay. So we talked about going into the season, how last week's action in Arlington was the most important weekend of the non-conference. I think we agree this was probably the second most important. Based off of what you've seen so far, and SEC play kind of looming. It'll be here before you know it. They've got Winthrop this upcoming weekend, and then it's about to get a lot tougher. But have you seen enough for Auburn to say, okay, they're ready for conference play?
I'm really close. I'm really close. We've still seen a little bit of offensive inconsistency, and there's still a little bit of the guys who we're counting on who haven't quite gotten fully rolling yet. Right. Chase Fralick is at the peak of his powers right now. 2 for 4 RBI, hit a bomb today. Chris Rimbert, 1 for 3, got it, did get a hit, walked twice, but I do think we want to get him a few more at-bats. It feels like you're maybe 1 or 2 little steps away from being ready for conference play. The pitching, for the most part, is there. You did have a bullpen slip up on Friday. Again, that happens sometimes. And the offense could have mitigated that by scoring 1 more run or even having a hit in that 4-inning stretch there in the middle of the game. But for the most part, you're really close. And again, I kind of laid it out earlier. You absolutely do have a blueprint here. There's not an SEC school that you're going to face this season that would rather throw their bullpen against you than their starter. Like, there are MLB teams who are legitimately like, hey, if we get into our bullpen, we don't care. We have great relievers.
Right.
That's not how college baseball works yet. And so the fact that Auburn's gotten pretty good at getting pitchers out in all of the major games that they've played, with the exception of that Cincinnati matchup, tells me that, like, you're this close. It's not reliable that you can do it, and they do sometimes still get got by a good reliever. That happened with Nebraska on Friday night. But outside of that, they are this close. It's baby steps, as Auburn here put it in the chat. They are this close to being ready for conference play and, honestly, having a legitimate chance to win every series that they go into. Now, are they going to? No. They have to host Texas. They have to host Arkansas. Like, have to go to Florida, which is never easy. At A&M, who was preseason top 5 team, right?
Right.
Mississippi State is undefeated. They're in the middle of playing UCLA right now. You have to go there as well. So, like, you're going to lose some of these series, but they have a chance to win all of them. And I think that's something we probably couldn't say 2 weeks ago.
Agreed.
That they had a shot to win some of these.
Yeah. Before we look ahead to Sanford on Tuesday and then Winthrop next week, is Nebraska good? Like, I think Nebraska will be clearly a bottom half SEC team. I don't think you would push back on that.
A lot of the people I talked to this week trying to get ready for this said that Nebraska has a legitimate chance of maybe not winning the conference because UCLA's in there with them, but being one of the better teams, if not challenging for second or third place in the conference. And if you look at who they've played some very good teams. Now, they lost to Louisville in Kansas State. We beat Louisville and Kansas State, but they beat Florida State just like we did. We kind of killed things for Florida State, and they never recovered there. But they're not bad. They're expected to be pretty good. Part of this is the fact you have to remember too that they're from a cold weather place. And so they have not played a home game yet. All of this from them has been on the road. And I do think that matters a little bit.
Yeah.
But they are supposed to be a good team this year. They are probably bottom half of the SEC if they were here, but that says more about the SEC than it does Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, the SEC's won the last 6 championships in a row?
Yeah, and going into this week, 12 of the top 25 teams, I think I was D1 Baseball's poll because they put Ole Miss in at 25, are from the SEC. So take that for what it's worth. All right, so looking ahead now, Auburn hosts Samford Tuesday, 6 o'clock, first pitch, and then a 3-game series this upcoming weekend against Winthrop. Of course, that'll be at home at Plainsman Park. I tell you what, the midweek game, I really would like to see that not be either a disaster or close to a mitigating disaster. I'd rather them just win the game by the amount that they're supposed to.
Yeah, and this one being against a more manageable opponent, I think is okay. When you have those tough games like a Cincinnati, you're going to have a home and home with Georgia Tech in the midweek. Those are a little bit tougher because it does really feel like Auburn does everything to build towards the goal of winning the weekend, right? Like that is the ultimate goal, is we want to go 2-1 at least every weekend so that we can not only ensure we are in the tournament, but we are hosting, and a super regional will go through Planted Park. And so because of that, I think they've got to find a way maybe to be a little more crisp on Tuesdays, on midweeks, given that. That being said, the fact they lost to Cincinnati and barely won last week tells me that, they're probably going to find a way to do that. And Butch has been really good about trying to find like little incremental improvements here and there. He talked about this on Tiger Talk earlier in the week. That final play on Tuesday night where they won, if that throws on a line, he's out. And so they spent time during the week working on being a 1/10 of a second faster from second to home so that if that situation comes up again, they're safe. Like little things like that, trying to find things to work on out of the wins. So I'm hopeful that they're going to be a little bit better about this. I do want to say, though, don't look past Winthrop.
Okay. What do we know about Winthrop at this point?
They are 9-2. They took a series against Georgetown on opening weekend. They played NC State kind of close until late. They swept Morehead State, not a state. They beat Marshall. They swept Maine. Like they play Michigan State this week at home, and then they come here. They're playing well right now. I still don't think the talent level's obviously not there compared to you, but they're playing well. They held their own against NC State on the road. And I do think that how they do against Michigan State at home will give us a better idea, but don't automatically say we got to sweep Winthrop or it's a terrible weekend. I do think that they have a chance of taking one of these games, but so we want you to sweep, obviously, but they're not. So bad.
You're expecting, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're expecting 3-1 this week.
That's probably the safest I feel like I can commit to, simply because we've seen the issues on Tuesdays. And I don't think Winthrop's bad. They should go 4-0, but I'm going to commit to 3-1 simply because that's kind of how I like to hedge.
Yeah, nope, that makes sense. So, programming note, we probably will not go live after Samford Tuesday night because basketball will probably have just started when that game is ending.
Yeah. So
probably won't do that, but planning on going live multiple times this weekend after these games against Winthrop. So there you go.
And then we'll have more on Tuesday on the Barn Baseball Show with Sonny, DeShera, and Bradlaw.
Yep. Be sure to check that out for sure. Lindsay, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
The Barn Auburn, it's all the Auburn baseball stuff. We had discussion threads up all weekend for all 3 games. The Atlanta Braves stuff, bravestoday.com and the Braves Today podcast as we get closer and closer to spring training.
Please like the video. Please subscribe. If you're tuned in on audio, please subscribe and leave us a review. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.